Brooklyn Independent Television.
For me, this is the first time. We've been trying to get this gentleman on for the last, what, 2-3 years right now?
Long time.
Long time, right? Dr. Ira Warheit, in case you attend high school basketball games here in the city, high school football, baseball, he's all over the place. And tell us about yourself.
First, I'll say and foremost, I'm a periodontist, practicing periodontist. I've practiced dentistry since 1970 in the city, mostly in Staten Island and presently in Manhattan and in Brooklyn. While I was at practice in Staten Island, since I had a love of sports, I went looking for a program in sports management. And St. John's was the first program in sports management, and unfortunately,
is that the one in Staten Island, the Staten Island campus?
The campus in Queens. Okay. So unfortunately, I couldn't fit in my schedule. But fortunately, NYU came up with a big program in continuing education, and they had some very, very big names as far as instruction, including Brandon Steiner. And we all know Steiner sports marketing and how successful he is. And he was, I'll call it, even though I'm older than he was, one of my idols in sports management, because I always felt he was a brilliant marketing person, and it's been proven. So I got a certificate in sports management, and I started a company, International Sports and Entertainment Management Company, which mainly advises and it helps student athletes.
Right, especially high school students also. I mean, you advise them on
yes, yes. I mean, I've been involved on the young end with Mo Better Football, which has produced some NFL stars like Lance Schultes, and I've been involved with the Big Apple Sports, which is Thomas Tippy McTurnan, which is an organization that helps develop basketball players, and we have about 8 players in the NBA now, including Mr. Ebanks.
Okay, and that's a hot topic these days, especially with the ages, what's going on. We'll try to get into that conversation also. But let's talk about high school football. Matter of fact, we're getting ready to approach the playoffs pretty soon. And in the top 5 teams, especially at Fort Hamilton, Lincoln, Tottenville, Erasmus, Curtis, Thomas Jefferson, Brooklyn Tech, Susan Wagner. What do you feel about that? And how do they look going into the playoffs, especially in the championship division?
Okay, first, I'd just like to comment that Alan Arbus, who's the commissioner of football for the PSAL, has done a great job over the years and really supports the kids probably better than anyone else in the PSAL.
Okay, let's get to our conversation. Fort Hamilton in the
Fort
playoffs.
Hamilton,
they have a new coach.
Fort Hamilton, the new coach Perez took over from one of the great all-time coaches, Vinny Leno, who probably was the coach of the decade from 2000 2010. He just retired. Fortunately, he's moving to Arizona, but he won 4 championships in a very short period of time. And his son, fortunately, is at the United States Merchant Marine Academy and doing very well.
Abraham Lincoln, really big turnaround, wide receiver, big offensive line, huge offensive line, especially for New York City football.
Correct. Sean O'Connor has done a great job there. And I went down to visit them a few years back because I'm always interested in helping players and get to colleges. And I couldn't believe the freshman linemen there, and they were 300 pounds as freshmen.
Quite a quarterback also. How do you see them going into the playoffs?
I see them possibly the #1 seed. Ishaq Williams, who's a defensive end, tight end, is in the top 3 players in the city. He's about 6'5", he's about 225 pounds, and could beat any tackle in the city to the inside, which, as any football coach will know, is a very tough situation to deal with.
The Pirates of Staten Island have just been shutting down teams. I mean, boys and girls scored a touchdown, but that was towards the end of the game, and most of the subs were in that at that point.
Coach Munson's done a great job over the years and has raised that program. Tottenville's always been noted for baseball, and the Tierney father and son they've won several championships. And Curtis has been probably #1 in the last 10 years. In the 90s, Wagner was the team to beat, and Port Richmond's always been good.
You got Jeff. You got Jeff, who's coming around. They're bowl title winners last year. Now they're doing a lot of damage.
It's great to see because back in the day when Mo Finkelstein was probably maybe top 3 coaches of all time, ran a great program. John Brockington played for him as probably his best all-time player.
Otis Wilson too, right?
And Otis Wilson with the Chicago Bears and at the University of Illinois.
Super Bowl shuffle.
You're right.
We got to wrap up this section, but when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about high school football playoffs, some of the top players also in the city. Okay. Right after this. In case you're just joining me, Dr. Ira Warheit's in the house. He's a sports advisor to several high school ball players across the city, basketball and football. Speaking of one ball player who went to Lincoln High School, he's now at ASA, Khalif Staton. Tell me his story right now.
Well, Khalif was
As a matter of fact, ASA is one of the top junior college teams in the country right now, right down the street from here.
We're right down on Lawrence Street. Again, I'm the head of football operations, and we're fortunate to have a coach, Dennis Orlando, and a great assistant coaches. And we have some great players, one of which we just mentioned, Khalif Staton.
Tell us his story. He went to Iowa, and he got...
Khalif was a great athlete. Khalif had to make a decision between basketball and football, but he was so highly recruited in football, he went out to the University of Iowa and had some difficulties out there and decided to come back. And originally he was going to go to Globe, but he wound up picking ASA instead. And he plays a linebacker with NFL potential, and he's doing very well. It's one of the reasons that we're in the top 20 in the country.
Now, do you see him staying there another year or leaving to move up?
Well, he has another year, and he would have to graduate, so he won't move up. He'll only have 2 years college eligibility. But I'm sure that Syracuse or Rutgers and many other schools will want to recruit him big time.
We also have Dominic Easley. He went to Curtis High School, highly recruited. He's at Florida, right? University of Florida?
Yeah, Dominique, I saw as a freshman. His brother was a great wide receiver, played upstate, I think at Albany. And this kid, I saw him first 5 minutes, I said, this kid's got NFL potential. He played linebacker at the time, but he was moved eventually to defensive end. He was player of the year last year and chose the University of Florida over Rutgers. And
that was a good look because Penn State was also highly on his tail for a minute.
Yeah, right? a lot of schools, everyone wanted Dominique. He went to Florida. And things that college teams do, they meet their needs. So here was a guy, defensive end, and now they blew him up, and he's a defensive tackle. And it's sad in a sense because a lot of players, I'll name Brian Holness, played at South Shore. He went out to JUCO in California, and they changed the position. Here he's one of the best defensive tackles I ever saw in 50 years, and they changed him to an offensive guard. So a lot of colleges, instead of helping kids, they're just out to help themselves, and that's a sad situation.
David Legree was recruited by Syracuse, transferred to Hampton University in MEAC.
David was a great quarterback at South Shore. He played in the Boomer Bowl, and I was privy to hearing the conversation between Boomer Esiason and David where Boomer said, look, take it slow, you have NFL potential. So up at Syracuse,
he's a big kid too.
Oh, this kid's 6'5", 230. He can throw a ball into the wind, 75, 80 yards, and I've seen it myself. So at Syracuse, they had choice. They had 2 or 3 great quarterbacks, and in spring ball, they decided to go one of the other quarterbacks. And David amicably made a split and decided to go to Hampton. And Hampton had a pretty darn good quarterback also, a 6'5" kid from Florida who set conference records, but David beat him out. And this year, in his last 4 games, he's thrown 14 touchdowns in 4 wins.
Now, how many years can he play at Hampton?
David he has 1 more year, but he's minimally a free agent, and hopefully he can get into the draft because obviously you make a few more dollars that way.
That's true. Dominic LeGrand.
Dominic LeGrand,
Curtis High School player, all city.
He was a quarterback and a safety, and he was recruited by Boston College as a defensive back, a safety. And he was so talented that it was very unfortunate, if you remember, that one of their linebackers was diagnosed with cancer. Right. And Dominique was such a great athlete, they moved him to linebacker for a year, and he played very well, but fortunately now he's back at the position he was recruited at, which is strong safety. He's got NFL potential, and you'll see him drafted also. Would
you like to see an all-city championship game, perhaps Catholic teams playing PSAL? Is that a possibility? They used to do that years ago.
They used to do that years ago, and that's always good. It's good for the kids, it's good for the schools, good for the city, and I think it shows a lot. It gives schools that are recruiting kids an extra opportunity to look at the kids.
Championship games at Yankee Stadium this year. Who's there?
Who's there? I'm going to go with Lincoln and Tottenville. Where's my heart? Fort Hamilton, because I was that close to Vinny, and Brandon Reddish is the hottest recruit in the city. I would like him to go to Syracuse because he'll start there. If he goes to Rutgers, he's blocked. So those are the two main schools, although many other schools are.
And Keith Stroud, too, out Rutgers is doing well.
Keith's doing very well. And I was at the game the other day. There was a Stroud on the uniform. I thought it was his brother. It's his cousin.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Glad to be here. Hope to be here.
Been a long time. You will be back again.
Okay, we'll talk about basketball.
Out of time. We'll be back after this.
Become a fan on Facebook. Like Brooklyn Independent Television.